Hi, big guy. Oh, big mouth. Big mouth and big teeths. Oh. Excuse me, can I help you? Excuse me, is attention being handed out in this quadrant, in this vector? Oh, you had to get to the water bucket. And then somehow you just had to make your presence known right in here. You couldn't go around over here. You had to go this way. In between Samson and me. Samson and I. Excuse me. Sorry, excuse me. Oh, lay. Look at you. Funny girl. Funny girl. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. So funny, lion. Ugh. Trying to get the... Ah, there we go. Success! Hello, all you big cat lovers out there. It's me, Derek, again. Welcome to another wonderful, amazing episode of the Walk Around the Compound webcast. It's a little bit warm outside right now. A little bit warm. We've been having crazy weather and rain and severe weather outbreaks and all that stuff. And we are going to be having more of that crazy stuff. We're expected in some areas of North Texas to still get up to like 7-8 inches of rain just this next week. Over the course of this next week, it's going to be crazy, right, Ton? Well, you're supposed to you're supposed to do the cue. Late. You're late. Oh. Well, better late than never. Anywho, I was thinking about Dr. Brian Davis, my good friend Dr. Brian Davis of the National Institute of Health, who also helps to gather genetic samples for the exotic feline repository, exotic genome ASEFR. Yeah. Where they take DNA and they put it into a genome bank and they're able to store it, let scientists and whatnot, study it. And I was thinking about how, I wish that there were, more people who would get on board with that program. And I think that sometimes people can be a little bit short-sighted. Hi, Bon. Yeah, very short-sighted. You're very Bon-sighted. Very Bonnie-sighted. I know. A little bit warm outside. Everyone's just kind of in the shade. Because it's humid. That's one of the big things. And it's also some of the first times that it's getting warm. So everyone's kind of undergoing like that transition. Kind of like, it used to be so cold and now it's hot all of a sudden. What's this all about? Oh. But sometimes people, they don't want to, there's certainly more people, more cats in captivity, and more people who, what, should I have come to you first? Yeah? See, and then like an area like this large amount of shade actually does considerably drop the temperature down of right here as opposed to right here. Of course, sometimes, ooh boy. So yeah, big difference. So this right here is actually quite comfortable. Papa. But yeah, definitely wish that other individuals and you got to keep on repeating it, and you got to because not everyone's going to see the same messages, and you just got to keep on talking about the program where they take genetic samples, blood and tissue samples, stuff that's normally acquired during routine veterinary procedures, and they'll take it and then they can sequence that stuff, and you've got some flies. You got some flies on your nose. Yeah, you don't care. I don't care about flies on my nose. I don't care about no flies on my nose. And yeah. Now here's some crazy stuff. I was thinking about that, and then I was also thinking about some of the other like crazy futuristic long-term theoretical things that I've read about in recent years. I'm a big fan of some of the futurist type things and some futurist predictions, notably like guys like Ray Kurzweil. Whoa, hey, yeah, yeah. But he's a pretty cool guy who talks about things like the singularity and the exponential growth of information technology. And it's an interesting topic, and it's applicable to a lot of different things. More things than I think a lot of people realize right now. And it's a topic that has fascinated me for quite some time. And also Tigis. Tigis fascinate me. Their adorableness is fascinating. Oh, sorry. Hi. You were just like looking at my butt. I was like bending over to see the little guys, and then JP was just like snuffling at my butt. Hi. Hi, Jake. But what the exponential growth of information technology is basically using one generation of computers, of information-based technology, to develop the next generation, and then using that next amazing, awesome generation to develop even the next generation after that. So you're not just having a stair-stepping mode of growth and development. You're actually having an exponential growth. It's compacted. The rate of growth actually changes, and sometimes I think not a lot of people they don't hear that at a fundamental level. We're biological organisms. We're higher primates. We come from Serengeti plains, where having linear patterns of thought suited us very well. For instance, you're walking a path, on the plains, and then you see a predator, and they're on the horizon, and they're going to be walking, and then through your deductive reasoning, through your linear analysis of the situation at hand, you can deduce that your path and the path of that predator is going to eventually intersect. And then you would make the decision, course correction, I'm going to go this way. And that's a very A to B to C to D type progression. And most people just, they think that because we're biologically hardwired to think in a linear fashion, in a linear progression. And then we have this exponential growth, and it's hard for us to really grasp the full magnitude or the full mode of conceptual or conception, I guess, of a lot of this stuff. You think about the rate of change and the rate of growth within computational technology, the fact of the matter is that my brand, all social media stars, creators, content creators, anyone online with a slight modicum of notoriety is because of the recent advent of smartphone technology, and then our ability to share large volumes of information. So, megabytes and eventually gigabytes of encoded video and audio information. And we're able to do that, and we're able to share that through the airwaves. You go back 10, 15 years, that was inconceivable. But because of the rate of development of our information technology, we're able to now do these types of things. So they're talking about how those types of developments within information technology, it also is going to have implications towards commerce, towards industry, towards engineering. I mean, the advent of things like 3D printing, of nanotechnology, that's going to be real stuff. Real stuff. Boo Bear. Boo Bear! Boo 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 boo! Boo! That's you. She's just kind of leaning back. She's just kind of having a good time. Just not wasting any energy. So, how does that apply to, the stuff that we've got going on? I think that the increase of technology and people's access to technology is one of the, they say it's one of the most democratizing forces on the planet. I mean, you give people access to information, you put smartphones in the hands of like poor people over in Africa, and they're able to solve a lot more problems. Once 3D printing actually becomes a thing, once we actually start doing things like synthesizing meat, which that's already something that is in development, and people, they don't realize, well, it's not going to be for tens, dozens, 50, 60 years. Okay, when they first announced that the Human Genome Project was going to be completely encoded, it was going to be done in 15 years, they laughed. They thought it was crazy. And then, 10 years into the project, they only had 1% of the Genome Project encoded. And they said, see, 10 years. It's been 10 years and you've only been able to do 1% of this Human Genome Project. See, it's ridiculous. But like I said, the exponential growth of information technology that that over the course of the next 5 years, they were able to make up for the 99%. Again, you can't think linearly. You gotta think exponentially. So, with that said, and I'm trying to keep all of my thoughts coherent here. Our ability to make high efficient green technologies is going to be because of our increased computational ability. Our ability to understand materials that can be utilized for certain energy production endeavors. That's going to be information technology. Not having to utilize, so much space and land for industrialized purposes, for agricultural purposes, because we're going to be able to synthesize, because we're going to be able to utilize the technologies that are going to be the result of our exploding information technology. That can have really good impacts on the planet as a whole. Third world economies start becoming, elevated. Quality of life starts to go up. People become less desperate. Well, then we're just going to have an overpopulation of the planet. Well, that's not necessarily the case. I don't believe that. Because, hi, Sugar Pie. There's already been studies that said that countries that become industrialized, they generally see a plateauing of their populations. They don't need to play the numbers game. Most of the time, whenever you have a sturdy and growing and healthy middle class, less and less people will opt to procreate. And if you can get like let's say the world, like the planet, if you could get the planet to have first world quality of life, I believe that many of our ecological problems would be alleviated over time. Over time. The wild places of the world would be able to reclaim, because generally speaking also, whenever you have industrialized nations, whenever you have large populations of people that become first world, there's more of an urbanization of their populations. More people move out of the countries, more people move out of the country and into the cities. And if you're utilizing your technology to foster sustainable development and green growth, then you're looking at a lot more of a symbiotic relationship that people can have with the planet. And I really do believe a lot of this stuff. And yes, we are talking about future technologies. We're talking about things in the future, but not necessarily things that you or I might not necessarily be able to see. Like stuff that could possibly be happening sometime within our lifetime. Yeah, it's not going to happen. What if it's going to happen decades from now? I understand it might happen decades. It might even happen a really, really long time from now. They're making people live longer. They are. And that's some of the other stuff that they talk about, some of the futurists, some of the Kurzweilians, unlocking some of the secrets of biology. Making people live vibrant lives past normal life expectancies. Utilizing advanced gene therapies, nanotechnology, bioengineering. But you're messing with the plan. That's not the plan. Well, okay. Go back to the 1800s. Average life expectancy across the planet was in the 40s. So if you made it to, if you're in your 30s or 40s now, you're basically you're an old person. You're an old, decrepit person compared to how they used to live on a planetary scale. Only up until a couple hundred years ago. So we've already basically doubled our average planetary life expectancy within the last century and a half. No one seems to be really complaining about that. We don't have to be at odds. We can grow and we can find smarter ways of doing things. And I truly believe that. People that say it's overpopulated and it's a lost cause and we're just the worst things ever, it's a self-defeating attitude, and it almost is like a thing where you're taking the responsibility out of your hands, because you're basically in some instances saying well, there's nothing that can be done. There's nothing that can be done. Looks like I don't have to do any work to make things better. I don't got to do anything work because, people suck and we're just ruining the planet anyway. You just see that. I think it's just kind of silliness, and it's lazy. It's lazy. Because we are at a point in our planet, in our planetary ecology, where, if things don't change, then things are going to change very dramatically. Whoa. That is a snack. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, a snake. Snake. Climbing up that pole. And JP was just like, I don't want nothing to do with that thing. And I think that's just like a rat snake or... I don't believe it to be one of the poisonous ones. Or venomous. Sorry, venomous. Beezer! What is going on there? He was standing over there and he was going and when he sees that, what is that? I don't know what that is. But yeah. Yeah. I do think that we can have a more symbiotic relationship with the planet. I think that we need to do more to develop sustainable energy sources, to bring poverty-stricken places out of poverty, so that human life expectancy is able to increase, that people don't feel the need to overpopulate, to continue to breed. I mean, because the planet, as it stands right now, the planet can handle our population. The people that say it's overpopulated, it's silly. It's not. If you took every single living man, woman, and child and put them in one area and made them stand nuts to butts, all squished up with each other, that area would be a little bit larger than the size of the state of Rhode Island, which is the smallest state in the United States for you international Pride members. So when they say the planet can handle our need, it can't handle our greed, it's absolutely right. And again, once we start really developing these information-based technologies to develop and solve a lot of these problems, that's going to be a good thing. That's going to help us out. And then it goes back to that whole thing. Okay, we may very well completely eradicate some of the larger species out there, okay, before we get our act together. We may. And it would be a very sad thing, and it would be a very awful thing if that happened. But it doesn't have to be the end game. You know? It doesn't have to be the last. I mean, like, elephants and rhinos are getting killed at an accelerated rate over in Africa. It's like only like 3,000 tigers left in the wild. 20,000 lions. Blah, 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 blah. So who's to say that we couldn't someday, after we have a little bit more of a better relationship with the wild places of this world, who's to say that we wouldn't be able to take that base information with our advanced technologies and then be able to synthesize and create test tube tigers, test tube Conopolys, and be able to put them back into the wild places of the world. Now this is crazy futuristic spaceman type stuff, but it is all stuff that truly is rooted in the realm of theoretical plausibility. It really is. That's why I think my buddy Brian Davis's program is honestly one of the most crucial programs, one of the most crucial options that we have to give these animals a shot at a real future. Because yeah, they're going away. They're going away. And we may not be able to employ analog conservation methods with enough fervor to truly save them out in the wild before it's too late. I mean, we have to be realistic about this type of stuff. But who's to say that the future, once we fix things, once we get better, because I'm an optimist. And I have hope for humans, and I have hope for our ingenuity and our curiosity, our sense of compassion. I have hope for these things. And I think that once we get past what Carl Sagan calls our technological adolescence, then you know, maybe we can heal the world, make it a better place. Does anyone remember that song? Sam did not like that song. I started singing a song that was that, what was that? Was that an old Michael Jackson thing? It just started popping into my head, and I thought, like, okay, why don't you end this video by doing probably the douchiest thing and just completely ruining like the last 25 minutes of, you know, thought-provoking conversation. Tawny. Hey, sugar pie. Anyway, I've just been kind of yakking for a while. But yeah, it's just, you know, food for thought. Food for thought. So, talk to you folks later. Bye-bye.